Taurus, something has been shifting inside you, quietly and without explanation. Like a thread being pulled from the fabric of your life so gently that you almost don't notice what's unraveling until it's already come undone. It's not loud. It's not dramatic, but it's real. You've been feeling it. Haven't you? A kind of soft detachment, a subtle, unfamiliar space between you and someone who once felt like gravity. You didn't choose this consciously. You didn't wake up one day and decide to walk away, but something in you deeper than thought, older than memory, has started to retreat. This isn't confusion. It's not neglect. It's not resentment. Either, it's soul level, a quiet inner knowing that this bond, this person, this connection that once felt vital has reached the edge of its purpose, and no matter how much you try to hold it, shape it, breathe life back into it, the truth won't change. You're not abandoning them. You're not punishing them, but your energy is pulling back. And not because you don't care, but because the care has already done its work. There's a kind of grief here that no one talks about. The grief of feeling the weight of love still inside you while knowing that it no longer belongs to the present moment. The grief of realizing that your soul is preparing to move on before your heart fully understands why. And Taurus, I know how much you value loyalty, consistency, and emotional stability. I know that letting go feels unnatural. But what's happening now isn't about turning away, it's about turning inward. You are not making this decision. The universe is making it through you. You are in the middle of a spiritual extraction, a slow, graceful, necessary removal from a relationship that no longer supports who you're becoming. It's like the soul performing a kind of emotional surgery, clean, precise, invisible to the outside world, but transformative at the deepest level. And this surgery is not cruel. It's not careless. It's wise. Because if you were to stay, if you were to keep pouring your love, your time, your care into something that no longer has space to grow, you would begin to shrink. And Taurus, you were not made to shrink in someone else's story. There's no need to name the ending out loud. No need to explain what cannot be explained. What matters now is that you feel what's true even if you don't want it to be. That your connection with this person is softening, fading, detaching not because you failed, but because the soul contract is complete. They came to serve a role. And so did you. You brought each other as far as you could. And now, to stay any longer would only tether you to an identity that no longer fits. This is the part no one sees. The stillness before the departure, the moments where you're still showing up on the outside, but on the inside, something sacred is already stepping away. And Taurus, it's okay to feel confused by that. It's okay to want answers. But the deeper truth is, you don't need a reason to let go. You only need the knowing that you've reached the edge of what this connection was meant to teach you. And what comes next, that's the part you don't have to chase. You just have to clear the space. Because the energy you've invested here, the love you've given, the effort you've carried, it's all returning to you now. And you will need it, not to rebuild what's fading, but to nourish what is waiting just beyond this quiet goodbye. Taurus, this wasn't just someone passing through your life. This wasn't just about romance, comfort, or companionship. This connection was sacred not because it lasted forever, but because of what it unlocked inside of you. This person wasn't sent to complete you. They were sent to awaken you, to stir something that had gone quiet within you. They didn't come to fix what was broken, but to shine a light on the parts you had tucked away, the parts of you that were ready to grow. There was a reason you felt so deeply with them. A reason the bond didn't feel ordinary. It wasn't chemistry, it was curriculum. A soul-level agreement that said, I will walk beside you just long enough to teach you something you've forgotten about yourself. And Taurus. What they reminded you, though it may not have been gentle, was that your love is powerful. That your devotion, once given, becomes soil for transformation. Not just for them, but for you. You learn to open, to trust, to share the parts of yourself that usually live behind thick walls. Maybe you let yourself lean on someone in a way you rarely allow. Maybe you softened. Maybe you compromised more than you should have. Maybe you gave so fully that it scared you. But even in the imbalance, even in the pain, you were expanding. You were discovering your capacity to love without guarantees. And that discovery will never leave you. This relationship showed you what happens when you tether your sense of safety to someone else's presence. It showed you how much you long to be chosen. Not for the version of you that pleases, but for the version of you that feels. And now that it's ending not loudly, but spiritually, you're being asked to remember your value was never meant to come from being needed. Your value is always in what you bring, your steadiness, your intuition, your care, your depth. This person may never know the full weight of what they triggered in you. They may never understand what it cost you to stay, or what it's costing you now to let go. But that doesn't change the truth. They came into your life as a teacher, not of joy or pain, but of capacity. They mirrored back to you the edges of your emotional world. The places where you loved too much, the places where you feared abandonment, the places where you confused stability with love. And now, with the mirror fading, you are left with the raw truth of what you saw. And this, Taurus, is the turning point. Because the love you gave them, the tenderness, the patience, the emotional presence, it was never wasted. It was practice. Practice for loving yourself in the exact same way. You were never meant to build your life inside someone else's emotional landscape. You were meant to build it inside your own. And this connection, this temporary home, was a place for you to remember what that looks like. So if you're feeling the ache now, the silence, the distance, the slow fade, know that it's not punishment. It's permission. You are being released from a bond that served its sacred purpose. You are being freed from the version of yourself that thought love meant staying, fixing, waiting. You're not being abandoned. You're being elevated. And now, you get to return to yourself with all the wisdom this experience has carved into your spirit. You get to hold your own heart with the steadiness you once offered them. You get to choose yourself not as a last resort, but as the first devotion. Taurus, what you may not yet fully realize is that your presence, your quiet truth, your steady energy, your unspoken loyalty is not just a way of being. It's a gift, a medicine, a force of transformation far more powerful than you've been taught to believe. In a world that moves fast, that chases applause, that rewards noise over depth, you show up differently. You move slower, you speak less. But when you speak, people listen. And when you love, people change. Not because you demand it, not because you try to fix them, but because your truth is calming, because your steadiness makes people feel safe enough to take off their masks, because your honesty doesn't come with sharp edges, it comes with warmth. And in that warmth, people melt. In that space you hold without even realizing it, others begin to soften, to unfold, to heal. You're not the one to shout your power from rooftops. You don't walk into a room needing to be known. You don't perform your strength. You live it quietly, consistently, sometimes invisibly, but it's there. It's always there. In the way you listen, in the way you stay when others leave, in the way you sense when someone's hurting without asking them to explain, in the way you offer presence without pressure. Taurus, your truth is not dramatic. but it's deep. And the world is starving for depth. You may not always understand the effect you have on others. Sometimes they pull away and you wonder if you were too much. Other times they hold on tighter and you wonder why. But behind it all, there's a pattern you're beginning to see. People are changed after knowing you. Something about you touches places in them they've kept hidden even from themselves. You mirror back a kind of calm they forgot they needed. You offer a kind of love that doesn't ask them to be anything but real. That's what makes you rare. You don't just hold space, you become space. And people sense that, even if they can't name it. They show you sides of themselves they don't show anyone else. They open up in ways they swore they never would. And sometimes, they don't know what to do with that vulnerability. Sometimes, it scares them. Sometimes, they walk away not because you weren't enough, but because you revealed too much of them. And Taurus, I know how deeply that hurts. Because when you love, you don't hold back. When you give, it's from the root. But even when they leave, even when they misunderstand you, they carry your energy with them. They carry the echo of your truth. And that echo becomes a turning point in their journey. A soft voice that whispers, "This is what safety felt like. This is what it meant to be fully seen and not judged. This is what it meant to be loved without noise." Sunu, you're not forgettable. You're unforgettable in the most sacred way. Not because of what you say, but because of what you allow others to feel when they're around you. You've spent much of your life wondering why people confide in you. Why strangers tell you their life stories. Why people lean on you in moments of crisis, only to drift away once the storm has passed. And now, the answer is becoming clear. You're a soul that brings people back to themselves. You don't do it with fanfare. You don't do it with spiritual language or grand gestures. You do it just by being who you are anchored. Listening. Real. You are a resting place in a world that glorifies motion. And Taurus, this is your medicine. You are the stillness that reminds others what it feels like to breathe. You are the ground that reminds people how it feels to come home. And even if they don't stay, even if they never say thank you, even if they return to chaos after leaving your calm, you are the reason they'll eventually crave peace again. This is not something you need to work at. You don't need to change anything about yourself to be this healing presence. In fact, the more honest you are, the more you trust your pace, the more you honor your own needs, the more powerful your effect becomes. Your truth does the work. Your energy does the work. You don't need to teach. You just need to be, and that's the beauty of your gift. It's not performative. It's not curated. It's lived. It radiates from your choices, from your patience, from your refusal to abandon what matters to you. It moves through your silences. It lives in your values. And every person who encounters you leaves with a deeper understanding of what it means to be real. So if you've ever felt invisible, if you've ever wondered whether your love mattered, if you've ever grieved quietly while others celebrated loudly, please remember this. You are the reason someone stopped doubting their worth. You are the reason someone realized love doesn't have to be chaotic to be true. You are the reason someone finally felt safe enough to take the first step toward healing. And you did all of that without even trying. Taurus, your truth is a soft revolution. You don't shake the world loudly, but you shift it deeply. You don't save people, but you remind them how to save themselves. And that is a kind of transformation this world needs more than it will ever know. So if you're standing in the quiet now, if you're watching someone drift while your heart still remembers, if you're learning to let go, not with anger, but with grace, then know this. Taurus, you are not being left behind. You are being called back to yourself. This journey wasn't meant to break you. It was meant to bring you face to face with your own quiet strength, the part of you that gives without needing recognition, the part of you that loves without clinging, the part of you that heals just by being real. You didn't lose yourself in this connection. You found the edges of your tenderness. You discovered how deep you can go, how much you can feel, and how gracefully you can rise when it's time to walk away. So trust the unraveling. Trust the silence. Trust that your soul knows exactly what it's doing even when your heart still wants to hold on. You are not being erased. You are being revealed. And what comes next will meet the version of you that no longer begs to be seen. Because now, Taurus, you see yourself, and that is where true love begins.